Psalm 127:3. Children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from Him. This suggests children are a precious gift from God to be valued and cared for.
In the United States, a child a minute is taken into DHS, CPS, and so on custody. The reality is their pics are already selected, you just don't know it. Being perfect no longer matters. It's what the adopting families are looking for.
Who is it stealing the children, you ask?
From caseworker to the White House, the buck stops at all levels, just not where it is supposed to be. The services your family needs, we the people have paid for to ensure your reunification. Title IV says, reunify at all costs. United, we stand means nothing to us when it comes to family values. Children are being ripped away from their families. Parents are reverting to addictive behaviors to cover the pain. The trauma caused by child removal is just being recognized, and the results are atrocious. Termination of parental rights is not healthy for anyone, just profitable for the people enforcing the lie.
It's time Washington listens to the cries of our children, the wails of their mothers, and the rage growing in the fathers. These are our children. Keep your damn hands off them. We are coming to act on the behalf of the children God gave us to protect, and you
They are taking our kids every day. A child a minute, no one has a thing to say for those who have been isolated. Don't be worried, you have a voice today. So listen up everyone, here is the story. Child Protective Services is real. CPS is what they call it. They want our kids because it fills a lot of people's wallet. We all think it won't be us. We say when they come we will be so tough. It all sounds good when there's no one to take them. But when they come, your voice gets to breaking. Stay calm, step away. CPS ain't taking no one today. We are educated. Stay calm, step away. CPS, you need to leave. I know the tricks up your sleeves. You can't do what you're trying to do. We have done our homework. Don't do a damn thing without a warrant. You no longer will steal our kids this way. Tiff and the Punisher future have come for the calling. They are giving us the CPS warning. Their voice is loud and clear. We stop losing our kids this year. Tiff wants to fight the entire planet. She is tired of our kids being taken, god damn it. She's been fighting CPS for 30 years, bringing children home from this disgusting mess. The Punisher is screaming out loud, abolish CPS and tear it down. I want all our kids to come back. Look at all those kids' pictures held up like thin tags. Together we are stronger than we need. We will tear down CPS with high speed. We will do so much being together. Birds of a feather flock together. So watch out CPS, here we come. Picking you one by one. We promise to bring back the family and prosecute the caseworkers unhandily. Give us back the kids you have taken. Tiff and the Punisher sending you all on a vacation. The one with bars in the windows, and the only games you play are old Nintendos. Corruption in courts, here we come. We won't stop until it's done. You judges need to learn what you stand for. This is Tiff and the Punisher warrior, and we cry out to all of you out there. We need support for a cause that many don't care. All children are being stolen way too often. So CPS, we plan on doing the stopping. Stop it.
Well, what's up, everybody? It's Tiff and the Punisher show, but it's just the Punisher tonight. Tiff is on her NAACP meeting, which I'm sure she's having a blast right now. I hope that she's listening to the show and making sure that we do her due diligence, as I'm sure we will, because tonight's guest, we got Brenda with us. And we also have a man that's been with me for a while also, and he is a constitutional lawyer. It's a good friend of ours, Charles. He will be with us too. So tonight, guys, I guess what we can do here is, since we do have an actual lawyer with us, maybe if you guys have some questions that you'd like to get out of your chest or something, or Charles, listen to what Charles has to say. I don't know, but he's got some good mouths. He's got some good licks that comes out of his mouth. So I heed everybody to listen to what this guy has to say, because he does a lot for people. Let's bring out Brenda and Charles, though.
There,
Brenda,
I'm like, what happened to
here we
Charles?
are.
I didn't see him in the waiting room.
Yeah, here he is.
Hey, Darren. New Year.
Yeah, Charles, I'm glad you're here, man. How you been?
Oh, very busy, as Brenda can say.
Same old, same old.
Yeah. Brenda's got her double. She's on the double today. She stepped in for Tiff tonight, so that's cool. Thank you, Brenda, for doing that. But yeah, Brenda, what do you got? What did you want to let everybody know?
Okay. I wanted to let y'all know that we got a really good letter from one of the attorneys on Chris's case, and it's because since they're not an attorney in the state of Florida, they had to have a sponsor, and I'll read it to you. I wanted to provide you an update on finding a sponsoring attorney. We are currently in the talks with Tony Henderson, who is a very qualified Florida attorney. He has done a lot of high-profile cases, including most recently the Sarah Boone suitcase killer trial in Orlando, Florida. Along with Mr. Burnett, he is also a top 100 criminal attorney in the country and a top 10 attorney in the state of Florida. I'm wondering if Charles wants to chime into that. I'm sure he does.
Well, I don't know who besides the people that get honored call themselves top attorneys.
Right.
I mean, I suppose I am the number one disbarred attorney in the United States.
Right?
And so I mean, who nominated me for that position? I did.
Right. Well, it's a good position. I mean, it's a good position to have, Charles, because there's not so many, you know?
Oh, there's only one number one.
That's right.
I did want, in relation to what I think of lawyers, and you introduced me as a constitutional lawyer, so it's very important to say I have a JD from the University of Chicago. I have worked for two federal judges directly and several other judges indirectly, but I am disbarred in literally coast to coast. Florida was my first state, California and Texas, and thanks to some fans in the Bush family, I became a former lawyer. But I think that the bar and the whole conceit of licensing is a fraud. It is the biggest frauds in the United States, and that's a tough competition as far as what's the biggest fraud in the United States. But when you're talking about CPS, when you're talking about mortgage foreclosure, when you're talking about the whole system, basically you're talking about a system of controlling liars. My great-grandfather was a justice on the Supreme Court here in the state of Louisiana, and he was famous for the statement on his chamber walls, in which he often repeated to lawyers appearing before him, "Dead lawyers lie still." And
Dead lawyers lie still. That's funny.
Now, today, there's a news item today, and Brenda said that you all have been talking a lot about the 47th president, and I'm a fan, although I have to admit I did not vote because I have become rapidly disillusioned with the election system. I really don't think that our votes necessarily get counted anywhere, and so I did not vote. But I'm very happy that Trump is back, and Trump has done some amazing things for the legal system. The 4 justices he appointed in his first term have handed down some very good decisions, and we could talk about that another time. But in his first day in office, he kept a campaign promise. Well, he kept a lot of campaign promises, actually, which is in itself amazing. Most politicians' campaign promises are not worth the hot air they spoke them in. But on his first day, Trump issued an executive order abolishing, or limiting, I should say, birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment. This was one of the first decisions to be challenged by blue states. And John C. Kugenhauer, a senior district judge, U.S. district judge from the state of Washington, sided, this is from the New York Times, sided, at least for the moment, with 4 states that had sued. This is a blatantly unconstitutional order, he stated. Frankly, he continued, challenging Trump administration lawyers, quote, "I have difficulty understanding how a member of the bar would state unequivocally that this is a constitutional order. It just boggles my mind," unquote. Mr. Trump's order, issued in the opening hours of his presidency, declared that children born in the United States to undocumented immigrants would no longer be treated as citizens. The order also extended to the babies of mothers who were in the country legally but only temporarily, such as on student visas. Now, the president has made this order, and I have a big problem, I'll tell you, with executive orders, period. The Constitution doesn't actually say anything about executive orders or what legislative power the president has, but a lot of important things. Basically, in other countries, they call these either royal decrees or presidential decrees, but in the pretense of constitutional government we have here, we call them executive orders. Makes it sound like it's somehow more democratic. It's not.
Right.
It's an abomination. But nonetheless, listen to what this Judge Kugenhauer said. I have difficulty understanding how a member of the bar would state unequivocally that this is a constitutional order. It just boggles my mind. What is that doing? That is setting up
Cut off.
Trump's lawyers again for being disbarred and attacked and vilified for taking a position on behalf of their client, the President of the United States. And this is the conceit of the bar, that the bar exists not to maintain professional qualifications or integrity of any sort, but actually to defeat integrity and to say, if you do not toe the party line as a judge or as a lawyer. Somebody asked me on here, how do we disbar corrupt judges? Well, maybe we'll get to that later. But the point is that the bar exists as a speech control mechanism. It is all about saying there are certain positions you can take as a lawyer, and you cannot be an advocate in good conscience for your client. Because if you advocate any position that we don't like, we will disbar you. We will take away your license. We will take away your livelihood. We will make sure that you never speak with legitimacy on behalf of any person again. There is no stronger case to show this, I don't think, than the case of Chris Cambron. Basically a man who has never committed a violent act in his life, who has just been sentenced to 15 years incarceration, basically for making a video, kind of like this one.
Okay, hey, I'm going to play this video. I just wanted to say that during the dependency, this is the type of films Chris used to do, kind of goofing around, whatever. And for some reason, the same court that took my children and took my vehicle, they wanted to play this in a court of law like there was something wrong with this. Oh, I'm sorry, I got to do the other thing, but hopefully it's not too loud. And there's like a Nicolas Cage loses his shit. This was the Joker loses his shit. That's my little girl right there. That's Sage. They did this in a compilation of Nicolas Cage. Did the exact same thing.
Brenda, I'll tell you why part of the reason why they showed that. They showed that because it showed the Confederate flag.
Right.
Oh, it just happened to be like a place that was down the road, and this lady had up a flag. It was like a little shop over there.
Anytime you take you use Confederate flag, you are basically condemning yourself. And I mean, I know one of my good friends up in Virginia, Jessica Revis. She was a very wonderful advocate.
This is hilarious.
Why is that funny?
Because the bathroom that he's sitting in happens to be the bathroom that was destroyed by the sheriff's son that the sheriff that my husband ran against. They completely messed up our house, and this was after all that.
What does that have to do with Revis?
I don't know, but this is what I'm saying is why you can see clearly this guy does some off the wall stuff. Why are you going to bother him? Why, if you don't like the channel, turn it. Nobody asked you to look at his channel. Nobody did.
Well, I mean, what was the commentary when they introduced this? I mean, what did they say about it? Because he's a bad actor, is what I'd say. He's a really bad actor. I mean,
I'm going to play on the Nicolas Cage thing, and you'll think, hey, that's pretty damn good. He did a pretty good rendition of that.
Well, I mean, but the point is that that's about the limit of what you can say about it. He's got nothing in his hands. He's not hurting anybody. He's not suggesting as anybody. He's just acting out, and I assume he's getting something off his chest. I can't hear what he's saying.
This is before the kids were taking. I can tell you that. But my son just got a match. He was going to go start his pre-med, and so he was actually going to move to the Caribbean. So this was kind of a letting it all out afterwards. And
Why the hell didn't you move to the Caribbean? That would have been very smart.
Right, first thing you should have done was leave, right?
Well, Hawk, for a year and a half, he was in the Caribbean doing his doctor and stuff in Dominica, not in Dominican Republic, it's Dominica. And then when he was done with that, he finished up outside of Miami, Florida. So that's why the reason that we moved to Florida was to be close to our son. Except the only thing we could afford was this little crappy town of Dixie County in the Third Circuit that happened to be criminals. We walked right into that one. So
Dominica's a very nice place. You should have moved there.
Oh, yeah. And Chris thought about it. We were actually my idea. If anybody listened to Mom, I'm like, let's get a sailboat. We're not buying a house in Florida. Just get a sailboat and go do it like that one movie with Adam Sandler, is it, and Drew Barrymore, 50 First Dates. That was the end of that movie. They went off because she had like head trauma or something, and she just that was actually a sad movie. But I've watched that over and over again. I swear that movie said a lot. And she used to do paintings all over the canvas, and they'd like what their family was doing was reliving the same day over and over again, because in her mind she wasn't able to go further in the next day. That's why it was 50 First Dates, because she never remembered the day before. So you all ever seen that movie? Come on.
Yeah. Charles, when you were just talking there, you brought up a good point about the Confederate flag. You're absolutely right. They saw that Confederate flag. They immediately associated him with the white supremacy group. They made him out to be, some sort of redneck, killer, white supremacist, whatever. That's absolutely true what they did with him. He's an anti-government. He hates our government. He hates the United States. He wants to kill everybody. And that's absolutely what they did. They painted that picture of him like that. That's what the image in their mind. The first thing that was a great choice for them to play a jury of mixed races, first of all. I'm sure, right? I don't know what the jury was in this case, but I'm sure it was 6 and 6, or pretty damn close. A professional Southern people that was probably more hip. So that was a great pick for them to use that video, because they did do that. They did paint that picture to them. You're absolutely right.
Well, you hit on the key point. The real reason that the Confederate flag is such a problem for the current government is not because of racism.
Right.
The real problem is that is the last time, really the only time, since the massive centralization of power in the federal government, that any part of the United States really stood up and said, no, we are going to stay free. We're going to do things our own way. We're going to have our own government, and we're going to do things our way. And if we want to abolish slavery, we're going to do it on our terms, not your terms. And the answer to that was, no, you're going to do it on our terms, and 1/3 of the country is going to be reduced to poverty and effective slavery if you don't do things on our terms. That was the result of the Civil War, was the beginning of an oppressive, militaristic police state that became known as damn Yankees, not just in the South, but all over the world. That was the beginning of America as a violent, oppressive country. And we should never forget that. It is not because, slavery was so terrible. Jail in the United States keeps more people in effective slavery today by a factor of about 5 than were ever slaves on Southern plantations. We are the most enslaving nation in the world, even including Red China. on a per capita basis. We are the most oppressive nation in the world, and China doesn't take children away from parents the way CPS does in the United States. No country in the world does. We are the culmination of totalitarian socialism, and it all began with the Civil War. And if they don't defame the Confederacy, if they don't say that, oh, it's inherently evil to fly that flag, then people will do some study, people will read, and people will realize this was about freedom. It wasn't about slavery. It wasn't about undermining the American way of life. It was trying to preserve the spirit of 1776.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we're gonna one more generation, and these children aren't gonna know that there was a civil war. I mean, they're just taking it all away. And that's another thing too. I can't believe that people look at you right, wrong, or indifferent, whether you agree with the Civil War, whether you disagree with it, whether you think it was a slave thing, whether you think it was a race thing. The bottom line of the Civil War, in all reality, if you look into it, also was the Industrial Revolution. The South had a bunch of cotton. The South had a bunch of product that they could use to make all of their stuff. The North had spent a ton of money on these great machines that could shuttle up. They've spent all this money on factories and all this stuff, and the South still went overseas because it was still cheaper for them. And that's another part of the argument as well. So, and that's what it was about too, was being able to pick
very
and choose.
perceptive comment, by the way. But you are a historian. You have got it right. And if you, I mean, what you're saying is absolutely true. And today they announced the nominations for the Oscars, and I've got some connections with the Academy myself, and it's fascinating if you look back 70. What is it? Is it 76 years or 86 years? I guess it's 86 years now since Gone with the Wind swept the Oscars. And, Gone with the Wind began, the little introduction to Gone with the Wind, it says almost exactly what you were saying, that that basically the South, the Confederacy, was the last stand of feudalism against the Industrial Revolution. I mean, exactly what you said there.
Yep, 1939 was when Gone with the Wind came out.
I can't believe that's actually 86 years. 86 years ago.
It's kind of scary, right?
60 plus 20 plus 5 plus 1 is 86.
Wow, that's scary, man. Scary. You know what? And bring it, since we're going to talk about this for a minute. You made a comment earlier about the vote. Saying that your vote doesn't, most likely, it's not counted the way that it's supposed to be in terms of one for one. However, do you feel that it's important to keep the vote as prestigious, I guess, if you will, as it's meant to be and as it's supposed to be, opposed to saying, well, my vote doesn't count? Like, to hold up the integrity of the whole democracy system, or whatever you want to call it, structure, the vote is the key essence of this whole system that we come to live by. And it is true that they're rigging those results, and that's part of what the January 6th thing was about. Was you guys screwed with the election. The Constitution says, if I don't know if it's Constitution or the Bill of Rights, don't quote me on that one. Maybe you can help me out with that, Charles. But it says in there, if there is inefficiencies in the elections, and if it messes with the integrity of the election itself, then you have to, as a citizen of the United States, go and revolt that vote. You can't allow that to go through because it destroys the integrity of our core values. So that being said, you made that comment. Do you really truly feel that your vote doesn't count, or do you just?
I have been studying.
Where do you stand on that?
I have been studying this issue for, most of my adult life, basically. And the bottom line is 2020 was definitely not the first time there has been election fraud. It was not even close. And I was talking to a good friend of mine one of Georgia's top lawyers, Sam Dixon in Atlanta. He's had an amazing career in real estate law, and he was telling me, he was quoting to me the other day, last time we talked, I guess was Sunday, and he said, Charles, Emma Goldman was right. If voting made any difference, it would be a crime. They do not allow the reality of popular will to make a difference. I think at the beginning of this country, they really did. At the beginning of this country, they really did count votes. But there were a lot fewer votes to count, is one thing. It was much easier to audit them. There was no such thing as electronic voting.
Right.
I became fascinated with elections really in the year 2000. That was the year of the hanging chads.
The hanging chad, yes,
Yes,
the hanging chad.
Al Gore v. Bush. And there was substantial evidence that year of electoral fraud, but it wasn't conclusive and it wasn't presented as strongly as it should have been. In 2004, which was Kerry v. Bush, I actually I'd actually just been disbarred at that time, so I had a lot of time on my hands, and in both undergraduate and graduate school, I had taken a whole bunch of courses in statistics, and so in 2004, just for my own amusement, I started doing some statistical analyses of the difference between the exit polls and the actual tabulated results in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia. I looked at 100 counties in those three states and about over 1,000 precincts, and there were some very disturbing patterns. And that was actually, there was only one disturbing pattern, and that was that in these 1,000 precincts, the difference between exit polls and the final vote tally was constant.
Right.
It was a constant percentage, and it was all a flip from Kerry to Bush.
Yep.
Now, that can't statistically. There's almost no way of expressing the likelihood of that being a random chance. It is much more likely that the Earth is going to be hit during this show by a previously undiscovered comet or meteorite than that would be an actual difference by random chance in 1,000 precincts.
I've been hit by lightning 4 times.
Huh?
I've been hit by lightning 4 times.
Well, that's a very low probability event, and it's even lower.
Right. We could possibly have what you just said could possibly happen with me in the ring with us. So let's be cautious of how we're using statistics here.
I don't know what to say to that. I mean, do you play golf a lot?
I used to until I get hit by lightning a couple too many times.
So my guess was right. You were hit on golf courses.
Yes.
That believe it or not, that is. I like I say, I'm a little bit of a statistics nerd, and that is the most likely way to be hit by lightning.
Yeah, I had two of them were on a golf course. One of them in a basement foundation, and then one of them was through the telephone. Yeah, it was like I was inside of a foundation of a newly built house, and the lightning came down and struck the foundation, and I got the side swipe of it there. The one time on the golf course, then one time, so I lied. The second time was in my backyard. That was the bad one. That was a direct hit right through here. Came out my side right here. It was not a good one.
I'm just curious, is that how you got those tattoos?
That's you can see when my side tattoo is missing a big piece out of it.
Oh, there.
Yeah, because it's weird. Is it
I
actually
was
cauterizes you as it comes
I
out?
was thinking about your tattoos, but okay. I was thinking, oh, four lightning strikes. That's how I got all those tattoos.
Yes, yes. There's actually that with that henna, right? There's singed onto me. But yeah. So have you been what have you been hearing about CPS lately in this war that you fight and the people that you represent? What are you coming across and what's sticking out to you with the new stuff? Just what are you hearing about? I haven't talked to you in a while. What are you hearing about CPS? What are you thinking about what's going on? What's happening in the world of
You know,
Charles?
I mean, I really, I haven't hardly been involved in anything CPS this year. But as a matter of fact, today there's some news out of California. A little girl a little girl's father was killed in a motorcycle accident in San Diego County, and her uh, her mother wanted to take custody of her, estranged from the father, and CPS refused to hand her over to the mother, and instead handed her over to the father. Just a couple of hours ago, handed her over to the father, to the father's parents, who had no relationship with the child at all. And uh, they are. I mean, that's going to be an interesting thing. But basically, the pattern every time, each and every time, is CPS always makes the assignment that uh, is going to provide the most conflict and the most trauma for.
And is it backwards? I think it's backwards. Yeah, I just wanted to say that I got a letter from Ron Paul's wife back in 2012, and it says, "Thanks for all you and your husband are doing in the cause for liberty." Carol Paul, and there you have it. And that was when he went to the if you look up the red brick church in Bangor, Maine, when Ron Paul was running for president. I'm sure it comes up because it was all over the news. And that's the other thing we were doing. And actually, Ron Paul shook the hands of my two youngest kids. Like, I mean, it's kind of
I'm not sure if
Ron
Charles
Paul.
is frozen.
Ron
Oh,
Paul.
okay, here.
like, he's like, what is Brenda talking about now? Yeah.
Ron Paul, but he's unfortunately been pushed to the side, and I mean, I think that's the saddest thing, really, about Trump's policies is that I don't see any trace of Ron Paul libertarianism in Trump policies. Ron Paul was a dedicated constitutionalist, and basically, in all reality, I think Trump he's going to restore a lot of morale in the United States. I think he's going to make the middle class feel better about living in this country. It's going to be less attractive to a lot of people to be thinking about leaving the country. But basically, I predict that the basic trajectory that we're on is going to continue the same. And I think that it's going to be a slightly different form of authoritarianism. But I'm not sure I see it really changing dramatically.
You think they're just going that Trump really just puts the patriotism back into this country, like that "I love America" feeling, but we're going to continue rolling on the.
How old are you, Darren? How old are you, Darren? How old are you?
I'm 46 or 47, so 47. I'll be this year.
You were only 2 years old when Reagan was elected.
Correct.
You see, I remember when Reagan was elected, and there was this huge swell of patriotic hope in the United States when Reagan was elected. I'll never forget the cover of American Opinion, which was the chief publication of the John Birch Society. in November of 1980 when Reagan was elected, and the headline was "What Conservatives Expect of Ronald Reagan," and it was a list of traditional conservative positions. He didn't do even one of them. He had promised to abolish the newest department of the United States government, which was the Department of Education. He didn't do that. It's still here. Betsy DeVos was Secretary of Education under Trump 1. What is that? Almost 40 years, 35, 40 years later. And she's not in the new administration. She wanted to abolish the Department of Education, but they wouldn't let her. The truth is that the right left progression between Democrats and Republicans basically always tends to go in one direction. I find the whole thing with Elon Musk very confusing. He is a technocrat. I like some of the things he says. I like.
Did anybody see him doing this? But he's giving his heart out, and people were saying, you know what that looked like, and then they'll stop it right there. I mean, come on, give him a break, really.
There's actually, I don't know if you watch the Hitler rant videos. But there's
that's another thing Chris played. He did the Hitler thing as well. I mean,
from the movie Downfall, Into the Gang, they did a Hitler rant of Hitler complaining about Elon Musk barging into his office and giving the Nazi salute. It's pretty hilarious. I love those Hitler rants. But anyhow, I mean that's not really what I'm talking about.
There was a funny thing Kids in the Hall did with the Hitler thing. I don't know if any of y'all seen that. If you ever watched Kids in the Hall, I mean, these other guys are too young for this, but that was hilarious. It's like actually, I think it was a censored scene altogether. With I won't even go there, but it was funny because that's what I'm saying. What is the best medicine, y'all? It is laughter, right? And why not spread the joy? Try to do things that are going to make people laugh because I mean, otherwise. I just don't know. We need more what is it? Peace, love, and understanding of that.
Well, I mean, the reason that one of the big reasons that I am suspicious of what may actually happen under Trump is connected to Elon Musk's new proposed governmental department, the Department of Governmental Efficiency. Can you imagine anything sillier than saying we're going to reduce the size of government by creating a new governmental department to augment the efficiency of all other departments? Really? Let's add a new layer of government bureaucracy to make sure that the rest of the democracy, the rest of the bureaucracy is behaving. Not going to work, and that's just it's a power trip for. And I think that we're going to see a lot of power tripping in the next few years. But I mean, one thing that I think might work is in terms of trying to change the matrix that CPS is embedded in. We really need to go after the bar, and I think there may be an argument to try to approach President Trump and his I mean, Pam Bondi as the last person I expect to do this. I mean, the former Attorney General of Florida and a staunch bar member, but the spirit of a lot of what Trump is doing would be consistent with abolishing or at least limiting the power of the bar. And I mean, I hope that he will notice what this Judge Kogenauer said about the bar and how the bar should not support the president's right to apply or construe, which is to say, enforce the birthright citizenship. Expression of opinion is what lawyers really, an expression of positions on the law and the proper interpretation and application of law. That's what lawyers should be doing. And when you've got a judge standing up there effectively threatening members of the bar with disbarment if they disagree with him on the constitutional interpretation, that is a serious problem, in my opinion. And that it shows how the bar is going to be has been and is going to be continued to be weaponized. I mean, look at poor Rudy Giuliani. Do I think Rudy Giuliani was a saint, or do I admire everything he did? Hell no. But I mean, he was a very distinguished lawyer and a very distinguished prosecutor. And basically, to see him disbarred because of the positions he took in regard to the 2020 election, which happened to be positions that I took also, was just disgraceful.
Hey, can you do this just for the, like, no, don't go into it real deep, Charles, but since we're talking about the bar, can you explain to everybody, like, the story of the bar, behind the bar, why you feel, like some people say that the bar is a foreign agency, and like all of this stuff. Do you mind just tackling that just for a couple minutes of explaining why people, what they see, how they see it, and why it is? You don't have to if you don't want to, because there's another question up here.
That's a fairly complicated question, and without going into too much detail, I'm not sure even where to start. But what you're saying is that people say that the bar stands for British Accredited Registry, Accreditation Registry, something like that. It's that sort of thing is complete nonsense. But what the bar is, in reality, is the bar is a form of peerage, which is to say, the bar is, it does create a de facto nobility. It creates a group of people with superior rights to you and me. I mean, I used to be part of it, but I was disbarred, which means I was expelled from the peerage. And the historical origin of that is that the bar was like, the bar was literally an architectural part of court, and the king's court was the establishment of the king's peace, and basically only certain people, namely peers of the realm, were admitted to court. Are you falling asleep? Am I that boring?
No, not today, Charles. Not today. I'm all full of running.
Okay.
Those are over there, pal.
Anyhow, the king was in English history, the king was the original judge, and as the population grew from King Alfred of Wessex on, it became obvious that the king couldn't attend to all the disputes in all part of a kingship. So basically, he would send emissaries called judges to each county, each shire, and basically there were two people who would represent the king's peace. There was the judge, who would sit on a throne in the place of the king, and then there was the shire reeve, who was basically the enforcer for the king, and that was the sheriff. So basically, you've got for each shire, each county, you had a judge and a shire reeve, and reaver meant collector, basically collect on judgment, collect on taxes. And so in the United States, when we separated from England, we inherited that system, and it was not well thought through how we were going to how we were going to democratize the bar. In the early stages of the United States, juries had paramount power and importance, and judges were basically relegated to a back position. In one of my favorite books of all times, which is Alexis de Tocqueville's Democracy in America, published in the 1830s, he took a trip through the new nation of the United States when the Constitution was only 50 years old, and he described how true democracy was at that point. And of course, that's the time when the franchise was much more limited. Not everyone could vote, and so votes really were counted at that point. I mentioned that earlier, but also only electors, only voters could sit on juries. And at that point in time, juries were permitted to decide questions of law. And so juries made comprehensive decisions about what law, how the law should apply to each case, and their role was to act as judges. And de Tocqueville said that was the real triumph of American democracy, was that the people, rather than the government, the members of government, professional basically, that the ordinary people got to decide cases of both criminal and civil law. And in the late 19th century, after the Civil War, after the Confederacy was destroyed, and with it the original relics of the American original republic, the bar evolved and became much more powerful. Starting in the late 19th century, you got labor union evolving, and basically the bar became a labor union for lawyers. It had previously been in the early 19th century that anybody could appear as an attorney in court upon the approval of the judges in front of whom they wanted to appear. There were hardly any law schools. Harvard Law School was the very first law school, then Yale, then a couple of others came, Virginia. But basically, in the beginning, there was no such thing as a bar, and it wasn't until the triumph of the labor movement, basically in the 1930s, that what we now call the integrated bar came into effect. And the integrated bar means that the bar was integrated into the Supreme Court, and that the Supreme Court of each state got to control who was going to be practicing in every court. And this is what led to standardization and all these rules about what you could say as a lawyer. And the interesting thing is that at the same time, they started constricting oral argument. If you look at the early 19th century, the transcripts of oral argument before the Supreme Court, they argued for hours. They really went into detail about the constitutional and common law history of every matter that came before the court. And basically, this got shorter and shorter and shorter until there are now traffic lights in every appellate and in the United States Supreme Court, which basically tell you when to talk, when to get ready to stop, and when to shut up. It's amazing. My grandparents told me that basically the traffic laws that came in the 20s and 30s were the beginning of real control over society, and that basically traffic laws were based on Pavlovian response. Are you familiar with Pavlov's dogs?
No.
Pavlov's dogs was an experiment in the 19th century where a Russian scientist wanted to show that instinct could be programmed. And the way he did this was he had a big collection of dogs, and he would bring them to eat every day by ringing a bell. But before he'd let them eat, he would take their saliva, and he found that basically, hey, big surprise, they were coming to eat. They salivated heavily before they got their food, and then he'd feed them. But then he did the same after conditioning them to respond to the bell. He would ring the bell and he wouldn't feed them, but they still salivated. That is exactly what traffic lights and traffic laws have done. They condition people to obedience, and the exact same rules that apply to traffic now apply in court. And people are conditioned to obey judges in the exact manner of Pavlov's dogs. And this is one way that social control has advanced so far beyond a true democracy, beyond a free group of people. I mean, look at your husband, Brenda. He's out there doing videos where he's acting, imitating TV and movie characters. He's having a lot of fun. He's not acting like a Pavlov's dog. He wasn't being a conformist. That is the most threatening kind of person to the modern establishment, is somebody who is not a trained dog. They want us all to be trained dogs. They want us all to be obedient, to salivate on command. This is why, CPS has...
Charles, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it really falls into what Chris said at the end of my show that I did this morning.
Guns, right? Everybody thinks it's funny. Oh, well, that's funny, right?
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Just go ahead. It's
around
right.
the country, and maybe offering some advice freely. We were free to offer our...
Wait a minute. Okay.
And so that is like always, but we've had thank you letters from the Clinton administration, through Bush's administration, like thank you letters for work on national, the horrible mass shootings that are going around the country, and maybe offering some advice freely. We were free to offer our advice, but nobody took it. And look at the mess the country is in today. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, the reason I was so many years ago right about the rampage shootings going to be on the increase is because the whole idea of a zoo mentality of everybody's feeling
A zoo mentality.
Okay, speak up a little bit.
Everybody's caged up. It's really the problem. It's a zoo mentality. It sounds funny yelling, but I'm not angry at anybody. Zoo mentality. But that's why I seen a long time ago. There's just too many laws, and the same thing happens in a zoo, where animals will start attacking each other that normally wouldn't do that in the wild when they're free. You wouldn't see the animals attacking the ones that are supposed to be. So you'll see a lot of attacking in the prisons and the jails. You'll see a lot of people attacking each other. And it's just extended out to where you're not really free. It's not real freedom in a lot of ways. And people say, if you don't like it, get another country. My family's been fighting for over 250 years for this country. My dad's a veteran. I'm a veteran. We've all been fighting. We're not going anywhere. We're going to fight with this president. We're going to fight with Trump to keep this place a free place. All right, I'm going to go and get going.
All right. It's rare that I get, to get him on there. So, in fact, when I got kicked out of the show, he was going to say something real quick, and he said something about I said liberty or something like that, which is funny because I just read this thing, which he had no idea I was reading this about liberty, and he's on the same page, I guess, with the liberty. So okay, thank you, Charles.
I'm completely lost. What?
You guys couldn't hear it, or no? No.
Well, I mean, what's your point? And did you want me to comment on something?
No, I just wanted to, like, what you were saying was reminding me what Chris was saying earlier. I mean, not that it's exactly the same or anything, but it's just, like you say, the conditioned, like the dog is conditioned, and that's what's also happens to humans who are caged up, just like what will happen to animals that are caged up.
Well, I mean, okay, I think we've got a relevant question here. Jonathan in the chat asked, how does CPS and foster parents condition their victims? I think that that's actually addressed in the introductory commentary or the text that Darren has at the beginning of the show. People are conditioned through fear to believe that their only real right to have children, their only real right to have the happiness, the fundamental happiness of family life comes from the government. This is exactly the opposite of real freedom and constitutional government. Our right to procreate, our right to love each other and to take care of each other and have children and perpetuate the species. This is inherent, natural, God-given right. There is no government that should ever be able to take away that right and those rights and those powers to what is called in the Declaration of Independence the pursuit of happiness. There is very little happiness that can exist for most people outside of the existence of a well-functioning family. I mean, that's where we seek happiness first, is at home. And to the degree that the government has said by television programs and by newscasting, oh, all these horrible abuses happen inside families. Dads are dangerous. Moms are drunks. Moms are on drugs. They're both on drugs. Only the government can protect children from the horrors of family life. This is in every newscast. It's in every TV show that basically families are dangerous. That the worst things that can happen to people are the childhood traumas that psychiatrists like Freud and his followers said. This is how people develop psychosis, is from the abuse they receive in the home. This is the conditioning of the past 125 years of constant, basically, as I've always said, communist Marxist propaganda that the evils of the world are the family, private property, and the bourgeois Republican state. These are the things that communism has wanted to destroy for years, and this is what they're working on. And basically, the question of how are they conditioned? Television, movies. I mean, you compare Gone with the Wind and The Wizard of Oz in 1939 with the films that are nominated for Oscars this year, and oh my God, I mean, Dorothy's love of home and her family, Scarlett O'Hara's devotion to her family home of Tara, and this year we have the first transgendered person being nominated for an Oscar of Best Actress. or is he an actor? Who the hell knows?
So that's what it gets to is this other thing that Trump's appointing these actors to this Hollywood office, what have you. I don't know what the function is it going to be exactly, but they're using Mel Gibson, Sylvester Stallone. Who is the other guy? I keep forgetting, but I did a whole letter to Darren, and I did it to you, Charles, and it's just all about like what we're getting ready for in however a couple of weeks or so is our Valentine's show, and we're pushing the freedom thing with Trump, okay, and we just want to make sure that our voice is being heard, and that's why we've been getting together, guys. So I'm thinking, I don't know, everybody's gonna like put some ideas into the ring, but I say each of us have 5 minute chat that will go live and then eventually be sent over to Trump or whatever email those guys got going on over there, and see if we can't make some waves. I also sent some stuff, y'all, about this Patriot, Trump Patriot suggestions, where you can put a suggestion into Trump. My friend Pam Bowman, I'm not sure how to say it exactly, but she was a part of this advisory thing, and they're getting together these ideas from different patriots. So here we are, we're patriots, and we have a lot of ideas. So get it in the email if you guys. If you didn't have it, let me know, and we got to get the word out there every way we can. Whatever.
Well, I would just like to suggest that people need to be as specific as possible about what their suggestions are. I mean, outline solutions, not just problems. And in that connection, I don't know how much time we've got left, but I see this message from a tired soul lost in world. What are your thoughts on a district attorney violating constitutional rights? And I want to address that. He's repeated it a couple of times here, and it's a valid question, but basically my thoughts are a very specific solution, and this is the kind of thing that I would like to see go on in the reforms of the next 4 years, but who knows if they'll actually be able to catch on or not. District attorneys, like judges, really have usurped the function of juries. The truth is that the district attorneys have usurped the function of the grand jury. The grand jury is now the tool of a district attorney, instead of a district attorney being the employee and the tool of the people assembled in a grand jury. Grand juries should be bringing real indictments and telling the DA what to do, instead of the DA telling grand juries what to do. This system is backwards. We need to restore the power of the people through juries. We need to put people back in control of the legal system. The people vote for their representatives, and the people should be able to vote on how the laws are interpreted and applied in their community. That is what the function of juries is and ought to be. And so I think that basically we need to radically reduce the power of both judges and district attorneys, because they are like kings in the modern world. We supposedly had this American Revolution to abolish kingship, to abolish monarchy, but district attorneys and judges are relics and remnants of monarchy and nothing else. They are little petty dictators in their little jurisdiction, and that's what we need to do. We need to take away their power, and we need to put it back in the hands of the people. And as far as the current system goes, we have no adequate remedy against district attorneys and judges who violate our constitutional rights, because they have either qualified in the case of district attorneys or absolute in the case of judges immunity, either qualified or absolute immunity. And this is the this is one of the key crises of American society right now. Is we have allowed a new elite, a new set of peerages to evolve, which are completely contrary to the spirit of the American experiment of 1776.
It kind of reminds me of when Pam Bondi was being questioned or tied in or something. What she was saying, what this guy, I don't even know who the guy was, what that was doing this, but he said, "You're supposed to go at, the prosecutor is supposed to go after the crime, correct? They're not supposed to go after the individual." And we see this time and time again where they're going after the individual instead of the crime. And it's again with Trump saying it's a witch hunt or whatever. It's so spot on is to know how these people want every control of your life. Like that, if they're not in control of your life, they're not happy.
Well, I mean, I think that up to a point, that's not just the current system. That's inherent in human nature and human sinfulness.
So that's why you should have AI judges, AI attorneys. There you go. Answers.
That's a whole other show right there.
But I mean, but let me just comment a little bit about that. What does law do? I mean, if you look back to the Bible, if you look back to Exodus and Deuteronomy and Leviticus, basically almost everything that people do has been on a normal basis has been declared sinful or criminal since the beginning of time. It is basically the point of law is to permit arbitrary and capricious prosecution of people. I mean, I love the dietary rules of Deuteronomy in particular. I mean, everything that I love is contrary to God's law. Apparently, I love bacon.
Thank you.
I love bacon. I love ham. I love shrimp.
USA.
I love bacon. I love ham. I love crawfish. I love shrimp.
So you're not a Jew then? You're not a Jew?
Well,
you like the bottom feeders?
It's part of
our shrimp. I love shrimp.
Oh Jesus!
Well, just what I was talking on my show earlier this morning is how Jesus himself was crucified because of what was I saying, guys? Who was there? It's like they felt like let me see. That he was speaking out against all this blah blah blah. You guys know the story about Jesus. Well, I just kind of was putting these things together. And I don't have my notes. Sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt. Oh, here it is. It's about sedition. Okay. So I was looking up sedition, and then it started getting into the fact that Jesus was charged with sedition. He was cited by Pontius Pilate and Herod, but Jesus was crucified as a rebel. I mean, everybody knows that King of the Jews, right? I mean, there you have it. Okay.
There you have. Yeah. All right, guys, we're way past, and we got Turn the Page is coming up right after us here. Charles, I want to have you back on for sure. I mean, what's the likelihood that we can get you back in here sometime sooner than later?
It all depends on my working schedule, but it's good to see you. And I stay in almost daily contact with Brenda, so it's never a hardship to talk to Brenda.
At least somebody's listening.
We're all listening.
I keep inviting Brenda to New Orleans to go swimming with me. So.
Oh, all right, perfect. She'll bring her suit. I'm sure she will.
I did have it packed in the car, Charles, when you bailed last time. Come on.
She's already
ready
to rock.
You didn't want to see me last week. I was in no shape to be.
Well, I think it was all for the best. I mean, there's, like you say, that God has a reason for everything. Maybe it just everything worked itself out, and I'm feeling good about Chris's case. And
You
I
and
just
I'll have
think
to talk
we
about
can
that a
reduce
little bit.
those, at least reduce the number of years. Come on, like 2 years or something. I think the girls last night I was talking to, Danielle and Lady P, they were talking about why mostly it would be like what about 3 years? This is so ridiculous that there would be any years at all. I mean,
Well, I mean, if you're talking about years, you're not talking about actually vacating the conviction, and vacating the
Right.
conviction is what ultimately should happen.
all right.
Yeah, Brenda, you and I will have to talk about that. Darren, good to see you. Happy New Year.
Yes, you too, guys. Don't forget, check out Kim Turn the Page is coming up next. And also tomorrow morning, Brenda will be on. Charles, everybody here wants to see you back real soon. I've seen the comments. So let's talk.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
All right.
Whoever
Thank you,
gets
guys.
up early, well, check it out. 9:30 Eastern time.
9:30.
Every word, no
Brenda's
All right, y'all.
back.
Thank you
Brenda's
for
back.
having me.
The
Thank you,
pride you
Brenda.
learned of the name
All right.
you had. It taught you that you were something, never feel bad. You knew the trials and tribulations it took to make you. Your aunt, your uncle, you always knew who was who. Who was who. CPS, when they take the kids away, erase the heritage of the children they have gotten pay. These children don't know where they begin. They sure know the outcome, the end. CPS, you're destroying the family. You think you're making things better. These kids don't know who they are. They will never. In a blink of an eye, you eliminate what's theirs to cherish. There is no imminent danger great enough to annihilate the name of a family and those that it consummate. How dare you take away such an honor for you to get a bonus and arise so much drama. Our kids, their lives erased away. Never will they know who paved the way. They are left empty to never hear the story. Who their grandparent were, the sad times and the glory. CPS, walk away. CPS, not today. Please, we beg you, leave the kids alone. God bless you. How do you think you are helping things out? You're causing more pain and agony without a doubt. Why do you want to be the eraser of a family past given by the Creator? CPS, why do you play the role of God while so many families are truly breaking the law? Inflicting harm throughout the night. The children are scared to turn out their lights. So go away, don't ever come back. Go away, I want my parents, that's that. I don't belong in a stranger's bed, thinking all night, memories in my head of the only love I once had. It was from my mom and dad. Now I lay alone, listening to strangers fight, never hearing the words I love you, good night. So good job, CPS, you really helped me. Now I'm scared, I'm alone, I don't know who I am. I've been cast away. If I'm lost, no one knows. There is no family to find me. CPS took that away, it's all behind me. When I go to bed every night, I close my eye tight. And through the tears I see my mom and dad, wishing they were here. I am so sad. You ruined.
Imagine being a child who has been torn away from their security blanket, their parents, the ones who stopped the boogeyman from terrorizing the nights and curing their boo-boos when they scrape their knees. Now just imagine how they mightest feel when the CPS meant to protect them tears them away from their supposed abusers and places them with strangers who have zero comforting skills. They need to be calmed. They are confused, lost, panicked, and needing their parents, but CPS took them away for the purpose of saving them. The kids don't even know why, and they are told that the parents they attach to no longer want them. What do you think that does? Do you think that this is how protecting children is supposed to look? Abolish CPS.